Welcome back to another episode of The Art of Volunteering. I'm your host, Stormy Bell. And today I am so excited about our conversation. My friend Javonna Wylie is here with us, and she is a rock star. Javonna is a trailblazer and is the president and CEO, as well as nonprofit visionary leader for Chester County OIC, Opportunities Industrialization Center. She was also named Vista's 40 Under 40. I'm so excited about that. She believes that by building community connections and barriers so that underrepresented, unemployed, and underemployed residents of Chester County can access greater economic opportunities, which will help our society be a better place for all. The CCIOC provides adult education, workforce readiness training, and Javonna is a strong advocate for the wellness of women and girls. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Stormy. I'm happy to be here with you.
We've tried a couple different times to have you on the show, so I'm excited that we finally are spending this beautiful fall. That's awesome. Okay, let's dive right in. Can you share about the mission and vision of the Chester County OIC?
Yes. So OIC was founded in the 60s at a time where Black and poor individuals could not get education and employment opportunities in the Philadelphia area by the late Reverend Leon Sullivan. And so at the time when he was alive, there were hundreds of OICs. Chester County OIC happens to be one of them. We were founded in 1979. In Coatesville, moved to Westchester, back to Coatesville. But our mission is to open economic opportunities to people through adult education and workforce readiness skills, helping people get into livable wage opportunities and family sustaining employment positions.
Oh, that's awesome. You just celebrated Founders Day, right? Did I see that? And it was the birthday of your founder?
We did. Yeah, so he would have been 102 years old. And so each year we honor that as a holiday and just recognize his contributions to the mission and all the work that we do today.
Oh, that's amazing. So, how did you get involved?
So my background is in social work. I studied social work at Shippensburg University, and I worked at a grocery store throughout high school, throughout college. And one summer, I was like, I just want to do something more meaningful. I love customers, but I really want to just go on OIC's mailing list. And she said, hey, this place OIC is hiring. This place OIC is hiring for a student, a summer, it was a youth summer employment program. And so I was like, I don't know what OIC is, but that sounds great. So I went to the interview. I actually invited my best friend to apply too. I don't know what I was thinking at 20 years old, but I was like, you should apply to this place too. So we both interviewed. I got the position, but they liked her too. So we got to work together that summer. And Joyce at the time, the former president and CEO, she said, you know, you're really great. When you graduate, come back. So I think the next summer I worked at OIC again. I graduated December 2015. I wasn't really thinking about employment. I wanted to like travel or, you know, join the Peace Corps, just something else. I wasn't thinking about Chester County. And my mom said, hey, OIC is hiring again. So I went to the interview. I knew about like 5 out of 6 people I spoke to. And then I started working on January 4th, 2016. And I've been involved at OIC ever since.
So you've worked your way up the ranks.
Yes.
Right? Because
yes.
It's just been a year plus that you've been the executive director?
Yeah, so not even a year yet. I was actually the interim director for about 4 months, and I'm going on to my 5th month formally as the president and CEO. Yeah.
I guess I've just always associated you with the OIC, so that's just how I know you.
Thank you, Stormy.
So it's the Art of Volunteering podcast. How do volunteers fit into your delivery model?
So we actually depend in a few different ways on volunteers. With our adult education programs, we have about 64 volunteers currently that serve as instructors and tutors for our adult education programs. So throughout the county, we have probably like 15 or so, give or take, sites where we educate folks in ESL, English as a second language, and GED, right? General education diploma. And then some folks don't need that exact education, but they might be studying for something, or they might just need a little bit more support. So we accept volunteers all the time to do that work. We've also had people do community service in our building. So if that looks like cleaning up our parking lot, or just maybe a couple of interns from Westchester University. So even professionally, if people are just looking to enhance some sort of skills, we usually make space for those level of volunteers. And then lastly, board members. We have 9 to 13 board members each year that help us, govern our organization. And, and so we really depend on leaders and smart individuals to help us move our mission forward.
I really like that.
Yeah.
So, have you seen a story of impact that you've directly seen the service that you survive and a person or a group of people who have just maybe flourished or have seen just a career change? Anything along that lines?
Yeah, so there's been so many stories throughout my time at OIC. It's always hard to decide my favorite one, but I do have a couple. When I was a case manager, I ran a youth, or I should say a young adult program. It was for 18 to 24-year-olds with justice involvement. And we like to use the term justice involvement, right? Because maybe someone gets in trouble, but they might not necessarily have a background, or maybe they do have a background. And there might have just been some injustices in them understanding the criminal justice system, right? Maybe I said, yes, I did do this crime and I plead to it because I just want to go home and be with my kids, or, when there might have been a few other resources or things that they could have talked through. And so we had some justice involved students, and at the time, I think I was probably like in my earlier 20s, and I just like to make sure that students had all the opportunities that I felt like they need to have. So I would drive them to college tours and college visits and all types of things. And we had one student who had so much potential, but I knew that he hung out with knucklehead friends. And I was trying to show him all the things that he could tap into, because I knew that if he continued to hang around those people, it wouldn't be good for his future. And so he had one foot in and one foot out in terms of I want these opportunities, and also I want to be cool and hang out with them. And so I was able to take him to a college visit at Cheney University. They have a rolling admissions process, so he would have been able to join the college at any time. And the tour went great. I took him to Millersville, I think, and Cheney. And he loved Cheney. They were like, we'll work with him. We'll get him his academic assessments. He can start within the next few weeks. I was like, this is great. He's going to, get out of his community and really take on this opportunity. He was so happy. He was beaming. He was like, I can't believe I'm going to college. So that was on a Friday. The weekend went by. The next week, I got in touch with him because we are supposed to go back to the campus, and I couldn't reach him. So I was like, what in the world was going on? I ended up seeing a news article that him and one of the other students, that was a knucklehead, attempted to rob someone in Westchester, which totally derailed his future, because thankfully no one was hurt. But because he was with his friend, he ended up going to prison for 5 years. At this time, he was 19. So that was the first time I, as a professional, had ever experienced something like that. I was devastated. But he actually ended up writing me a few different times while he was in prison. He actually came home from prison this year, in his early to mid 20s now. And OIC was one of the first places he stopped. He joined our program. And I actually went to get a service on my car a few months back, and when I pulled in, he was working. And, so I was like, well, I wanted to tip him. I was like, how can I tip you? He's like, you don't need to do that. But he was just seeing him proud and working and actually having changed his life, made me excited. It made me sad to know that some youth are misguided, and they don't have people to teach them the right way, or show them to look out for signs of friends they shouldn't be hanging out with, but also to see that people can come back at any time and change our lives and be empowered. Um, that was like that's a real impactful story for me because that day when I saw him working and doing the right things, I was beaming.
Oh, that's awesome. We have time. Do
Yeah.
you have another one?
Yeah. So another story I have is our work enclave program. We actually had two students that we awarded at our last gala we had in June 2023 as rising stars, Raven and Will. And Will was homeless for a number of years. He stayed at a men's shelter. And again, like, I think the beautiful thing of being in this work is the longevity that allows me to see people's life cycles and how they change. Because Will came through our programs before and he did the Fresh Start program with the Chester County Food Bank. And, he started working, but he was still staying in the shelter because he just didn't have all the different levels of stability he needed. And a year or so later, he came to the Work Enclave program, which is a 5-week paid ambassador program where we teach people professional development skills. They do some community cleanup. They get a lot of empowerment, and they get paid $15 an hour while they do it. So he completed that program, and once he did that, he was like, "This was the boost I needed to really like move my life forward." And from there, he was able to get a management job in the kitchen. I think he worked a part-time job and he started saving up so that he can get his own place. And within like 6 months, he had his own apartment. He moved out of the shelter. Like his boss actually came to our gala with him and just she loved him. So if I had not still been doing this work, right, I probably wouldn't have gotten to see that moment. And so sometimes when we think about like grants and things like that, we're like, what is the impact? And you might not always see that impact in a grant cycle. But if you look to a person's life, a couple years down the road, you'll see that, things did change. Those workshops did change their life and they were able to use those programs to make that transformation. So there's a lot of stories like those ones, but it's
That's
those
awesome.
small things that keep me inspired. Yeah.
I do appreciate that it's really what they say, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes.
That the work is immediate, but really you're going for that long-term change that meant in people's lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're moving right along. Oh my goodness. What is your biggest challenge at the OIC?
I would say I don't look at it as maybe I think that I want like so much greatness for everybody. And I know that I like right, you describe me as a trailblazer. That's very so much my mentality. I'm like, let's do this and let's get it done tomorrow. I think it's kind of what we just talked about, just being patient, not even just with our students, but with right, our community partners, like reframing their mindset around what it looks like to have collective action and collaboration because when one of us win, we all win, right? We don't have to work in any silos. We can partner and maximize our services. I think in empowering my staff, right, my colleagues, the people that I work with, because I see the potential in them too. And I'm like, there's so much opportunity for you. Let's go, let's go. But everyone's on their own unique journey. So I find ways each day to honor that, value that, give them the development they need, the support they need, and while also learning from them too. And then I think with employer partners, right? Like there's so many employers that have open positions and they don't even know that we have the secret sauce at times, right? Like that we can really help you fill those positions and give you a good talent pipeline. You just have to kind of reconstruct the way that you think about things. And so I would say that's my biggest challenge is just like connecting all those different dots each day and bringing them together. And that's the exact way that our late founder, Reverend Sullivan, did it. He has two different books where he maps out how OIC was created, what he did. And it's so interesting because a lot of the issues that he talked about back in the 60s, a lot of the challenges are the same ones we have today. And so it's for me, it's good to know history because I feel like, even though they're challenges, they're not something that um, I can't overcome with the
Right.
support of everybody else.
I think there's a saying, there's nothing new under the sun. like you said, what you saw in the past is what you're experiencing now. I do hope we can make strides in that. So, working in a nonprofit, the goal is always the goal always is to put us out of business
Yes.
because we've done our purpose. So, let's pivot. Do you have a volunteer journey?
I do. So I've ever since I was young, this is always like one of my favorite stories to tell people, but I think I was like a little bit of an ironery child. And I had a teacher in high school in middle school. She wasn't even actually my teacher. She just taught at the school, but she saw so much potential in me. And she would just come up to me and you're beautiful, you're smart, you're all these things, right? And I'm like a 12-year-old. I'm like, she's crazy, she's weird. Why is she always talking to me? But she actually had me do a Healthy Start convention in Coatesville. And a bunch of other students were supposed to do it with me. They all didn't want to do it. They thought it was stupid. So I was being a follower. I was like, I don't want to do it. It's stupid. And she called my mom and she said, hey, Javonna said that she doesn't want to do this volunteer thing this weekend. She said she has a hair appointment. And my mom said her hair appointment is canceled. She'll be there. And I was so livid. But once I got there and I started realizing like I just felt so empowered to do this healthy snack convention. I think I created like ants on a log. I taught kids why it's important to eat healthily. I spoke with their parents. I'm 12 years old doing all these things. And I was like, wow, like that moment changed my life of volunteering, right? Giving up my hair appointment to look fabulous, to go talk to these kids. And from that point on, it really changed my perspective about my own power and what it looks like to give back and how even being involved uh, helps me, right, have positions of power, helps me have influence, helps me be able to create the environment and the community that I want. And so from there, I went on to be in the Black Student Union in high school. I was the president, continued on with more volunteer opportunities, and then all throughout college. I volunteered a lot with like YMCAs, with migrant education programs, with individuals with disability. Like we would play basketball together and like just do different things during the weeks. So now as an adult, right, as a professional, my volunteerism looks a little bit different. I volunteer on a lot of different boards, the Chester County HR Association. And that was like so I could learn more about people and resources, but also to bring some diversity to that sector. I'm on the Workforce Development Board because OIC runs Title II education in Chester County. I hold that seat. Just talking about education, adult literacy, right? Sometimes people forget that the importance of ESL, English as a second language, and GED services in our community. But to be able to hold that seat is important. So I'm involved in a lot of different things. Black Women in Chester County Action, recently the Coatesville Area Public Library. But the important thing for me, again, is that even though I spend a lot of my free time doing these different things, it's bringing that my perspective to the table and being able to make decisions for people who, don't have that voice to make those decisions.
That's amazing. So, in 60 seconds or less, why do you volunteer?
I volunteer because of the impact um, that I know I can bring. I operate with integrity and I have a lot of values that I think some people in society lack at times. And that's not a dig. It's just that I think I have a robust journey and I have a lot to offer. And when I am volunteering in different positions, I'm thinking of all the people that I know and the things I see in the community and how we can be stronger. And so volunteerism has a special place in my heart.
That's awesome. You talked about being a young 7 years old and having that first exposure to volunteering. I personally believe that people who volunteer at a younger age, it becomes a part of who, like, it truly becomes a core value in who they are and what they do. And they realize that there's more to it. There isn't just a paycheck, that giving your time is valuable and that the person that you're giving your time to or the organization benefits, but you as a person benefit. I think you're able to identify who you are and what's important to you, which only encourages you to do more.
Agreed. Agreed.
They talk about the circle of life. There's just this circle. The more you give, the more you want to give. All right. This has been a really fun conversation. We are at the point where I'm going to ask you for a blooper. A blooper just means it didn't go as planned. And what did you learn from it?
Yeah. I think I'll say grant writing. Oh my goodness. So like an author, I have my own poetry book. And so I love writing in general. And I think one of my first times as I might have still been an interim CEO. And I went after a grant and I thought it was going to be a walk in the park because I've written grants before. So I was like, this will be super easy. And I just missed the deadline. And I was so devastated. I called my predecessor. I was like, I'm so angry at myself. I could smack myself. I don't hurt myself, but I was so upset. And it was just like it was like at that point, I was like so upset. But looking back, I would just laugh because I was trying to do so much in that, I'm new to this, right? And so my expectations were way too high. The way I was trying to plan out all the different things I was doing was way too much, and I missed that deadline. But also I had to look and say, like, now you have all this information to take forward, all this research you did. It's something you know how to approach in next time in the future. And so I would say that was a big blooper because when I look back, I couldn't believe how angry at myself I was. But it's a part of the journey. It's a part of the learning experience. And it's okay to step into a new role or position and not know everything. And that's what I learned in that moment.
I appreciate that. Do a lot. I work with a grant team and we do a lot of grants. So
You know the stress.
I appreciate the deadline. So you can do the research but you learn so much, which empowers other areas of what you do, of how to
Yeah.
reach people and how to connect with people. Okay. We're at the end of the conversation and I would like the mic. I want you to love on the Chester County OIC. You can talk about an upcoming event, something we didn't cover, just ways people can get involved. You have the floor. Just love on them.
Thank you, Stormy. OIC is so amazing. We're connected to a national office, OIC of America, as an affiliate. And, like I said, there's 24 affiliates around the nation. So we don't stand alone. We actually have an event coming up on November 1st at the Uptown Theater, and it's a benefit concert. So all the proceeds will go to OIC, supporting with our operations and programs. We're just a really great opportunity when you think about poverty and generational poverty. A lot of people really need these supportive service systems and educational and workforce opportunities to come out of those generational poverty cycles. And so OIC is very much so that place. Sometimes it's hard to explain, like, what are you guys doing and what do you do? And we do a lot. But essentially, we're always looking at the economy and evolving with the economy. And with evolution, comes the ever need for new support. And so, any way that a person can view themselves being a part of OIC's mission, if there's a way that we can collaborate, whether a nonprofit or individual, we're always open to that conversation and discussion. We're a group of great people, we're fun. So, I would encourage that you visit our office, our headquarters at 22 North 5th Avenue, Coatesville, PA.
That's awesome. Now, do you need volunteers?
Yes, all the time. So, yeah, it really just depends. I always like to say, let's just look at your skill set. But we do have the adult education volunteers. That's an ongoing program where people can volunteer. And then if there's some things that people just see they could give us a hand with on site, we're always open to that too.
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
This was fun to hang out with you on a beautiful day. So,
Yeah.
to my listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Art of Volunteering. I do ask that if you found value today, that you will rate and review this episode wherever you listen. It really does help others hear the work people are doing around the world and even in your own backyard to help restore the fabric of society. Thank you and have a great day. Bye bye.